Little point of clarification, by the way. I don't own this house. I will never be rich enough to own this house, to be honest. And that's probably a good thing, because if you are rich enough to own this kind of house, you definitely did something very illegal. But it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Can't wait to spend the next week here. This is the Underdog fantasy house. They rented it out from some tycoon, I assume. But we're going to be here for the week making content, both for the Super Bowl, as well as for everything that's coming after the Super Bowl, i.e. draft season, which is when this is going to be posted. This is obviously a Rome Odunze video, the first of many, many, many in-depth prospect reviews that we have coming. And I started with Odunze because I think he is the most unfortunate prospect in this class, because in any other year, he would be far and away wide receiver 1. Like, he is that talented. He is an incredible receiver. But he just so happens to be in the same class as Marvin Harrison Jr. So, yeah, like I said, unfortunate. But that doesn't mean that I can't take time today to talk about why in most years he'd be the number 1 receiver, all of his traits, his skill set, his projected role in the NFL, and of course, his ideal player comp for somebody who's already in the league. Let's get to it. Let's start with the obvious strengths to Rome's game, which are his physicality and his just unreal ball skills whenever he gets contested catch opportunities. Odunze was one of the most dominant ball winners in the nation last year, with an absurdly high 67.7% contested catch rate. And keep in mind, a great contested catch rate is like 55%. So he was almost 13% higher than that. And there were times where DBs clearly knew that like a back shoulder fade was coming just based on the split that Odunze was lined up in, and it just didn't matter. He would catch those anyway. Rome is just such a naturally gifted tracker of the ball in the air that it's rare that I ever see him truly misjudge a throw. And deep ball tracking is a skill in its own right, by the way. Not every receiver has ball skills at every depth of the field, but Odunze does. There's a great example of that skill on a particular touchdown he caught against Cal early in the season, where he had to muscle his way through press man coverage, stack on the corner, and then look for the ball. And he clearly thought the throw was going to go straight vertically up the seam, but just based on the positioning of the post safety in this single high coverage structure, Michael Penix decided to throw it outside, away from that safety, and he trusted Rome to just go make the adjustment. Without missing a beat, Odunze took his eyes off the ball, swung his head around the other way, relocated the ball again in a split second, and then finished the catch for a touchdown. I know this looks like a simple catch, but it absolutely is not. This is an extremely difficult adjustment to make on the fly that quite frankly not many receivers can do, college or pro, but Odunze just so happens to be one of the few that can. He reminds me a lot of DeAndre Hopkins in that way, where if you just put the ball in his zip code, he's gonna find a way to get to it because his eyes are so sharp and he can locate the ball with his head cranked at even the most awkward of angles, which again is not normal. And he also shares in Hopkins' physicality as well, now that I mention it, which I think is the other elite trait of his. Both Odunze and Hopkins play at about 215 pounds or so as their playing weight, maybe a few more pounds for Hopkins in his frame, but still, it's relatively close, and that's big by wide receiver standards. That size helps both of them just completely ignore contact, in my opinion. You see a lot of receivers these days at like 185, 190, 195. They get thrown off track by a stiff breeze, but Rome does not. He always has corners draped all over him, and he's still totally comfortable through all that jockeying for position late in the route. And that's a really valuable trait to me because separation is harder to come by against NFL corners anyway. And you can't just count on being wide ass open all the time at the next level. So you have to know how to shrug off press coverage with strength rather than quickness, and you have to know how to survive a DB being on your back every time you get the ball. Odunze knows how to do both of those things. He's built to do both of those things. He can just outright muscle his way through a jam at the line with a rip move right in the corner's face. He doesn't have to slow himself down by taking a rhythm step before he gets into the release just to try to back the corner off. And he doesn't have to take the long way around either with a shoulder dip like some smaller, weaker receivers do. He can just get straight to the point and go right through the contact. And once he does get off that jam, obviously he's still going to make the catch too, whether the corner is still on his back or not. To put it simply, my evaluation of Odunze is this: he is a grown-ass man, and that's one of the highest possible compliments I can give to any prospect. If I was going to knock him on literally anything, and keep in mind this is more just me grasping at straws than a true criticism, I don't necessarily see top-tier burst on tape. I think once he gets up to his second and third gear, really stretching his legs down the field, he has shown great speed before, but I don't think he gets up to that top speed as quickly as some of the other receivers in this class like Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, or Brian Thomas Jr. He's still going to run somewhere in the 4.4s, probably, but you will notice a difference in just his raw short area burst in and out of breaks when you watch him, and then you throw in Malik Neighbors, who pretty much just melts your face off every single play. Like, it's just a different level of speed there. But again, that is not a huge knock on Rome as a player. And keep in mind, my comp for him still as a true X receiver, which is going to be predominantly lined up on the line of scrimmage, going to war with press corners every single play. That comp is DeAndre frickin' Hopkins, okay, who's thrived in a similar role for a long time while running in the high 4.5s coming out of Clemson. So all in all, he's going to be just fine if his long speed is solid, let's say in the mid to high 4.4s, and not blazing in the low 4.4s to 4.3s. Like, speed is not everything. Rome is going to be fine. He's a smooth enough route runner, he's a physical enforcer both during the release and at the catch point, and he has enough juice to still adequately stretch the field vertically while also being a truly elite deep ball tracker when his quarterback does take shots down the field. To me, all those traits combine to make a day one starter in the NFL that has Pro Bowl potential early in his career if he's paired with a quarterback that will trust him to just go do what he does best: win one-on-one and get the ball. All right, that'll do it for Rome for today. Quick reminder, if you're a member of our Patreon at the $1 tier, that's going to give you access to all my position rankings as I finish them closer to the draft. And if you're a member of the $5 tier, that's going to give you access to a bunch of exclusive prospect videos that are going to be Patreon only throughout draft season, ideally 2 a week leading up to the draft. If you're interested in exclusive content, the Patreon is linked down in the description below. And one more note, if you're really into fantasy football, but also really into the NFL draft, and you follow all of these players religiously and do your own scouting reports and know these prospects inside and out, I do want to let you know that you can draft them right now. Like, even before the NFL draft, there is rookie best ball active on Underdog Fantasy right now. And this is obviously the best time to draft rookies because you're never going to get them at better value than this. Like, this time last year, Puka Nacua wasn't even being drafted. You know, CJ Stroud was a last round pick. Devon Achane was a last round pick. Sam Laporta, I don't even think he was being drafted at all. So if you're big on any of these prospects, like say Rome Odunze, and you don't really care where he gets drafted, you think he's going to be good no matter what, or if you think he's going to go to a really good situation, like say maybe being Justin Herbert's new #1 receiver, God willing, then obviously now is a really good time to draft Odunze. So again, you can find that at Underdog Fantasy. Rookie best ball drafts are live right now. You can use the QR code on the screen. You can use the link in the description. Whatever method you want to use, as long as you use promo code Brett, they will match your deposit up to $100. And of course, you're also going to get access to a new depositor special on Pick'ems if you happen to like playing Pick'ems as well. So thank you to Underdog Fantasy for providing the space for me to shoot this and for basically funding all of my draft coverage this year. This is going to be a really fun draft season. I hope you guys like this video. Make sure to go to the Patreon tomorrow for the Malik Neighbors video. See you then.